Viewing properties, knowing where to start, what to offer, what to look for, who to speak to, it can all be a bit of a minefield. It's a bit of a daunting prospect when it's your first time, when you're just getting started. So I've put together some little inside secrets and tips for you to get the property you want for the best possible price. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Adam. I'm an expert mortgage broker. Today though, we're talking more about property and how to view property, what to look for, what to do, who to speak to, all those things. I've got some little tips and tricks for you. But before we get started with that, if you're a first-time buyer, I've got a little gift for you. I have written a book. I've written a book called The Ultimate Guide to Buying Your First Home. So as the name suggests, it is everything you need to know before you buy your first property, right from the very, very start, right to moving in and enjoying your new home. So it is available to download completely for free. I'll pop a link in the description. It's available on Amazon as well if you want to buy it instead, but if I were you, I would go for the free one. It's an ebook for free. Links in the description. Go and check it out. Now, the first tip that I want to talk about is more about where you're looking for properties. So everyone defaults to Rightmove. Rightmove's by far and away the biggest channel or portal, they call it in the industry. They're called portals. I don't know why, but they are they're the biggest. Rightmove is the number one. That's where you kind of default to go to. But not every single agent in every single town in the UK will put their properties on Rightmove. I know firsthand Rightmove is hugely expensive to be on. I mean, you have to really as an estate agent, unfortunately. But yeah, it's really expensive. So there are other options, and there are some parts of the country where some agents don't put their properties on Rightmove, and it's more popular to go with one of the others. So there's another one. So Zoopla is another one to look at. On the market as well is quite big, so you'll find most of the properties are the same across the board, but it is worth checking the other portals as well, just in case you miss anything. The second little tip I've got for you today is not to restrict your search too much. So if you're looking for a detached house, with 3 bedrooms, that's fine. But if you search for that on Rightmove, again, I know firsthand that not all agents will list or market, describe their properties in exactly the right sort of detail. So they don't all put on there. Most will put on the amount of bedrooms, but they don't all put on there that it's detached, for example. So I've searched for detached properties before, and a few have obviously come up, but then I've taken detached away, and then more properties come up that are detached. It's just the agent hasn't put detached. Maybe it's really, really obvious from the photo or whatever. I don't know why, but don't restrict it too much. If you want a certain amount of rooms or extra rooms or a certain amount of space, in your general search criteria, don't necessarily put all that in there, because you might miss out on some. You might, so if you don't do that, you might have to sift through a few that aren't relevant, but that's better than missing out on the one that could be the one for you. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is estate agency marketing. Not all estate agents are created equal, unfortunately, so not all of their marketing is of the same standard. So you may see a property that actually the photos don't really look very good. It's messy, it's cluttered, you can't really see the room sizes, and the angles aren't very good. There's stuff everywhere. Actually, those properties, everyone else is going to be thinking that same thing as well. So unfortunately for the seller, that agent has not done the best job. But if you can kind of see through that, see past that, and think, actually, the floor plan looks okay, or it's where we want to be, or it's got the right amount of bedrooms, or whatever else you can pick out about it, go and have a look, because you might be surprised. Some estate agents and some photographers just don't capture the way, or just don't capture things in the way that some others do. So if you can find a property that isn't marketed very well, that's maybe been on the market for a little while, then you could snap yourself up a bit of a bargain versus the ones that are presented immaculately and look amazing online, because those ones will be really popular. So if you can find yourself a little bit of a diamond in the rough, then that is going to be a good thing for you. So So number 4 is just remembering who the estate agent works for. The estate agent works for the vendor. That's the seller of the property. So they are the one paying their bill. It's their job to get the best possible price for the seller of the property. It is not their job to make sure that you get the best possible, bargain for your search. So just remember that, when the estate agent is talking to you about how many other interested parties there are, or how many other offers there've been, sometimes these things can be, I'm not saying anyone's lying, but sometimes these things can be a little bit exaggerated maybe. So just be careful, what you sort of, believe, and there's different sort of tips and tricks that estate agents will use to make sure that you feel like you're going to miss out, or that you feel like you should be offering more. It's their job to do that, so they're just doing their job. But it's important to remember that when you're looking at property, just to make sure that you don't get caught up in the moment and swallowed up and end up paying, more than you wanted to pay for that property. So the last tip I'm going to talk about in today's video, there are more in the book, by the way, so if you go and grab yourself a copy of that, you'll see all of these tips and 5 more. But the last one for today is about making an offer, and it's about making sure that you make the right offer at the right time and get the property for the right price. So it's hard to know where to start, and I've been helping people make offers for years and years and years. Sometimes I do it for people on their behalf, sometimes not. I just sort of point them in the right direction. So I always have a bit of a rule of 3. We don't really want to be going more than that. The danger you see is, if you start low and then every time they say no, you give them an extra £500, it just gets boring and annoying, and everyone loses interest. We 10 offers later, you've offered an extra £2,000. We don't want to be in that situation. We also don't want to start so low that we offend anyone, because if we start so low and they get offended, then the chances are they're not going to want to sell to you anyway, and they will possibly wait for the next person to come along, or they will say no until you get to a higher amount than perhaps they would have done if you hadn't started so low. So we want to start off at just the right point. It's important to think about what you are prepared to pay for the property. So we're not talking investments and things now. We're not talking about trying to get the best return on your investment for your money. We're talking about buying your home that you're going to live in. You're going to live in for a few years probably. So what is it worth to you? How much are you prepared to pay? Once you've got that figure in your mind, then we come down a bit. We start a bit lower. Not so low that it's going to offend anyone, but low enough to give us a little bit of sort of leeway, a little bit of room for manoeuvre in there. So, if the house is on at 300,000, for example, we might want to start at, 285. That's just an example. It depends how long the property's been on. It depends how much interest there's been, but remember, take that with a little pinch of salt. It depends on what the vendors are doing as well. If the seller of the property has to sell, they have to be in a different school catchment, or they have to move away for work, or they have to go and do this, whatever they have to do. If they have to sell, they're going to be more inclined to take an offer than someone that just fancies a move, or fancy moving, the other end of town, or fancy moving to the seaside, whatever. They are not going to be, in a position where they want to necessarily take a really low offer on their property. Depends if they've found a new one as well. If they've fallen in love with a new property that they like, then they are going to be keen to get their property sold. If they haven't found anywhere yet, it's going to be more tricky for you. So rule of 3 then, what is it? So we start a little bit lower. We start somewhere where we know they're going to say no, but we start a little bit lower, and all we're doing on this one is gauging a reaction. So we just gauge what the feedback is, and normally they will come back with like a counter offer. So let's say it's on at 300 and we're giving it 285. This agent will come back and say, well, no, that they don't want to take 285, but they might take more like 295. They're going to come back with a counter offer. So then we can then make our second offer. Now, our second offer shouldn't be as much as their counter offer. It should still be a little bit lower. So let's say, well, no, we don't want to pay 285, but I tell you what, we'll go 290. And then we're much closer. Things are happening there. We're much closer. So once we've got to that figure, then we can make our sort of third and final offer. And our third and final offer should be somewhere where we can realistically meet in the middle. So they've said 295, we've said 290. Let's try and meet somewhere in the middle. It might be a little bit close to theirs, might be a little closer to yours, but sort of 292.5. Now in this perfect situation on this video where no one's got any emotion involved or anything, that's easy for me to talk about, isn't it? In real life it's not quite that simple. But those are some little guidelines for you to just try and make sure that A, we don't annoy anyone, B, we get the property at the right price, and we end up somewhere in the middle where everyone's happy, because it's important that everyone in the process is happy. So I hope you found that useful. That's the tips and tricks for today. There are more in the book, so go and grab yourself a copy of the book. There's a link in the description below for you to go and enjoy that one. And I will see you on the next video really soon. Take care.